Good evening, everyone. My name is Nickie Black. This is our first inaugural show, our maiden voyage, so to speak, of Venice Beach Central. It's a show that shows the best and the brightest talent from the Venice Beach area. A lot of us did start at the Talking Stick Coffee Lounge, but not everyone played there, but most of us have. So put your seatbelts on, and we're gonna do this. I got VeniceVille here. The band, we all met at the Talking Stick. Roger Houston over here and Mike Coulter over here. We all played in the Venice Beach Fellowship Band, which was the church band that performed Sundays at the Talking Stick. We got Eric J. Charles over here, who's a phenomenal musician. He was working a lot of sound, doing things at the Talking Stick, throwing shows and stuff like that. So this is our very first show, and we're very excited about it, to bring all of you folks into what we're doing these days and what's going on in Venice. Let me just get started. So I'll just interview some of my best friends over here, and we're all individual musicians. We do our own things, but when we come together as a collective, we're called VeniceVille. Mike, I'll start with you. Now, we played in the church band. You know, when the first day I ever walked into the Talking Stick, it was for a Sunday church, and they were just building the Talking Stick, and so the church was outside, but I saw you on percussion, and I just thought to myself, you know, this is a church I want to be part of. But what got you in the drumming in the first place?
Probably several things probably led up to it, but the real standout thing was when I heard a song from Led Zeppelin called Carousel Ambra, and I know a lot of people would say, well, why didn't you pick it up from some of the earlier albums? Well, I was exposed to Zeppelin later on. I was not out of any certain choice, but just that I had been listening to more soft rock, and then I heard the Led Zeppelin Into the Outdoor, which some people think it was their weakest album, but to me it was really strong. And then I learned to appreciate the other stuff when I heard it later. But when I heard Carousel Ambra, that was it. I want to be a drummer. I moved forward on it and have never looked back.
Now, how long did it take you before you were actually performing?
That's probably maybe about a year.
Okay, you picked it up pretty fast, huh? Yeah. And what about you, Eric? Where did you get your first what brought you to music in the first place, should I say?
Well, I was really into 70s rock.
Yeah.
Really some great bands in the 70s. I mean, of course, Zeppelin, Yes, Genesis, ELP, some amazing musicians. There were a lot of jazz fusion artists, Mahavishnu Orchestra, Al Di Meola, Return to Forever, really great bands like that. And of course, this was some very developed music. So I wanted to be a part of it, so I decided to attend Berklee College to pick up the skills to play this incredible music. And I just kept at it as much as I could. Couldn't afford to go to school every semester, but kept working at it on my own and just sort of had a calling.
You mean Berklee School of Music in Boston, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
And you really had to audition to get in there in those days, right?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, it was exciting process, very, very mathematically oriented in a sense.
All right, and what about you, Roger? Roger Houston right here. How did you start in music?
Pre-kindergarten. I remember my dad was really, he pushed me along, kind of nudged me into taking music. There was some concern that I couldn't learn to do anything else, so it might as well be music. But I learned to express myself. I learned to enjoy hearing things for the first time. I remember learning to play the accordion, which wasn't my first choice, but that's what Dad selected, and it seemed to be very popular in the 50s and 60s. So I went along with it. But then about 1966, I begged my parents to get me a guitar for Christmas, and that was it for me. I just developed from that point on, and it wasn't difficult. I probably taught myself to play the guitar, whereas I took lessons to learn the accordion. I still have an accordion, but it's not my first choice. But you know, I appreciate having learned. You know, I learned about music theory through the accordion.
Okay. For me, it was more like I just loved music from day one. I can't remember a day. Even at the age of 2, I told my mother to buy me these 2 records that I remember. And I did look back to see if it was actually the age of 2, and it was, because it was Trini Lopez, If I Had a Hammer, and Up on the Roof by the Drifters. So I think all of us can say we just loved music more than other kids, right? But I was very frustrated because my parents were drug addicts in Venice. I was born and raised in Venice, and so I was always trying to get an instrument but never could. So the records became my instrument, and that's what I just dove into. And as times got really harder, the records were like my savior in a sense. I just would hang out at friends' house that had a record selection and stuff like that. So that was my escape. So
What were some of your favorite bands or music or groups?
it was kind of like the 70s soul or the 70s electro jazz, I call it. So that's kind of why with VeniceVille, those are the tunes that we're performing tonight. And one of those tunes was Lonnie Liston Smith Expansions, which we're going to, with no further ado, why don't I go ahead and introduce that song?
Yeah, we have our own interpretation of that one.
Of course, only the VeniceVille way. You have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
You always have to put your own stamp on it. So I don't feel like we're doing covers in a way. I feel like we're doing standards.
Oh, yeah.
And we just bring that to life.
We're kind of expanding the talking stick into a new location temporarily till we get a new public location, but we're continuing the dream.
We're
That's
keeping
right.
the spirit alive.
Exactly.
And we're doing it right here at New Ocean Studio, which Eric, I just want to thank you personally for doing what you're doing for us. You're a phenomenal engineer, phenomenal musician, playing different instruments and stuff like that, man. We really couldn't do it without you. So check out this tune, Expansions, and tell us what you think.